land surrounding the city, but the strong defense of Constantinople's strategic position on the Bosporus Strait made it difficult to conquer. In 1402, the Byzantines were temporarily relieved when the Turco-Mongol leader Timur, founder of the Timurid Empire, invaded Ottoman Anatolia from the east. In the Battle of Ankara in 1402, Timur defeated the Ottoman forces and took Sultan Bayezid I as a prisoner, throwing the empire into disorder. The ensuing civil war, also known as the Fetrik Devri, lasted from 1402 to 1413 as Bayezid's sons fought over succession. It ended when Mehmed I emerged as the Sultan and restored Ottoman power. 41. 363 The Balkan territories lost by the Ottomans after 1402, including Thessaloniki, Macedonia, and Kosovo, were later recovered by Murad II between the 1430s and 1450s. On the 10th of November, 1444, Murad repelled a crusade of Varna by defeating the Hungarian, Polish, and Wallachian armies under Ladislaw III of Poland, also King of Hungary, and John Hunyadi at the Battle of Varna, although Albanians under Skanderbeg continued to resist. 4 years later, John Hunyadi prepared another army of Hungarian and Wallachian forces to attack the Turks, but was again defeated at the Second Battle of Kosovo in 1448. 42. 29. Ottoman miniature of Osman I by Yahya Bustanzade, 18th century. According to modern historiography, there is a direct connection between the fast Ottoman military advance and the consequences of Black Death from the mid-14th century onwards. Byzantine territories, where the initial Ottoman conquests were carried out, were exhausted demographically and militarily due to the plague outbreaks which facilitated the Ottoman expansion. In addition, the slave hunting executed at first by Akinsai regulars expediting before the Ottoman army was the main economic driving force behind the Ottoman conquest. Some 21st century authors reperiodize the Ottoman conquest of the Balkans into the Ankh phase, which spanned 8 to 13 decades, characterized by continuous slave hunting and destruction followed by the phase of administrative integration into the Ottoman Empire. 43, 44, 45, where the bubonic plague pandemic occurred between 1347 and 1349. 44, 45, 46, expansion and peak, 1453-1566. Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror's entry into Constantinople, painting by Fausto Zouro, 1854-1929. The son of Murad II, Mehmed the Conqueror, reorganized both state and military, and on the 29th of May 1453 conquered Constantinople, ending the Byzantine Empire. 47. Mehmed allowed the Eastern Orthodox Church to maintain its autonomy and land in exchange for accepting Ottoman authority. 48. Due to tension between the states of Western Europe and the later Byzantine Empire, the majority of the Orthodox population accepted Ottoman rule as preferable to Venetian rule. 48. Albanian resistance was a major obstacle to Ottoman expansion on the Italian peninsula. 49. In the 15th and 16th centuries, the Ottoman Empire entered a period of expansion. The empire prospered under the rule of a line of committed and effective sultans. It also flourished economically due to its control of the major overland trade routes between Europe and Asia. 50. 111. M. Sultan Selim I, 1512-1520, dramatically expanded the empire's eastern and southern frontiers by defeating Shah Ismail of Safavid Iran, in the Battle of Chaldiran. 51. 91-105 Selim I established Ottoman rule in Egypt by defeating and annexing the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt and created a naval presence on the Red Sea. After this Ottoman expansion, Competition began between the Portuguese Empire and the Ottoman Empire to become the dominant power in the region. 52. 5576 Suleiman the Magnificent and his wife Harem Sultan. By 16th century Venetian painter Titian. Suleiman the Magnificent, 1520-1566, 53, captured Belgrade in 1521, conquered the southern and central parts of the Kingdom of Hungary as part of the Ottoman-Hungarian Wars, and, after his historic victory in the Battle of Mohacs in 1526, he established Ottoman rule in the territory of present-day Hungary, except the western part, and other Central European territories. He then laid siege to Vienna in 1529, but failed to take the city. 54. 50 in 1532, he made another attack on Vienna, but was repulsed in the siege of guns. 55. 56, Transylvania, Wallachia and, intermittently, Moldavia, became tributary principalities of the Ottoman Empire. In the east, the Ottoman Turks took Baghdad from the Persians in 1535, gaining control of Mesopotamia and naval access to the Persian Gulf. In 1555, the Caucasus became officially partitioned for the first time between the Safavids and the Ottomans, a status quo that remained until the end of the Russo-Turkish War, 1768-1774. By this partitioning of the Caucasus as signed in the Peace of Amasia, Western Armenia, Western Kurdistan, and Western Georgia, including Western Samsk, fell into Ottoman hands. 57, while southern Dagestan, Eastern Armenia, Eastern Georgia, and Azerbaijan remained Persian. 58, Ottoman miniature of the Battle of Mohacs in 1526, 59, in 1539, a 60,000 strong Ottoman army besieged the Spanish garrison of Castelnuovo on the Adriatic coast. The successful siege cost the Ottomans 8,000 casualties, 60, but Venice agreed to terms in 1540, surrendering most of its empire in the Aegean and the Morea. France and the Ottoman Empire, united by mutual opposition to Habsburg rule, 61, became strong allies. The French conquests of Nice, 1543, and Corsica, 1553, occurred as a joint venture between the forces of the French King Francis I and Suleiman, and were commanded by the Ottoman admirals Hayreddin Barbarossa and Dragut. 62, a month before the siege of Nice, France supported the Ottomans with an artillery unit during the 1543 Ottoman conquest of Esztergom in northern Hungary. After further advances by the Turks, the Habsburg ruler Ferdinand officially recognized Ottoman ascendancy in Hungary in 1547. Suleiman I died of natural causes in his tent during the siege of Sigetvar in 1566. Following his death, the Ottomans were said to be declining, although this has been rejected by many scholars. 63. By the end of Suleiman's reign, the empire spanned approximately 877,888 square mi, 2,273,720 km2, extending over 3 continents. 64. 545 Ottoman Admiral Barbarossa Hayreddin Pasha defeated the Holy League of Charles V under the command of Andrea Doria at the Battle of Preveza in 1538. In addition, the empire became a dominant naval force, controlling much of the Mediterranean Sea. 65. 61. By this time, the Ottoman Empire was a major part of the European political sphere. The Ottomans became involved in multi-continental religious wars when Spain and Portugal were united under the Iberian Union. The Ottomans were holders of the Caliph title, meaning they were the leaders of all Muslims worldwide. The Iberians were leaders of the Christian Crusaders, and so the two were locked in a worldwide conflict. There were zones of operations in the Mediterranean Sea, 66, and Indian Ocean, 67, where Iberians circumnavigated Africa to reach India and, on their way, wage war upon the Ottomans and their local Muslim allies. Likewise, the Iberians passed through newly Christianized Latin America and had sent expeditions that traversed the Pacific in order to Christianize formerly Muslim Philippines and use it as a base to further attack Muslims in the Far East. 68. In this case, the Ottomans sent armies to aid its easternmost vassal and territory, the Sultanate of Asa in Southeast Asia. 69, 84, 70. During the 1600s, the worldwide conflict between the Ottoman Caliphate and Iberian Union was a stalemate since both powers were at similar population, technology and economic levels. Nevertheless, the success of the Ottoman political and military establishment was compared to the Roman Empire, despite the difference in the size of their respective territories, by the likes of the contemporary Italian scholar Francesco Sansovino and the French political philosopher Jean Bodin. 71. Stagnation and Reform, 1566, 1827. Revolts, Reversals, and Revivals, 1566, 1683. Late 16th or early 17th century Ottoman galley known as Tarihikatka at the Istanbul Naval Museum, built in the period between thrones of Sultan Murad III, 1574-1595, and Sultan Mehmed IV, 1648-1687, 72, 73, in the second half of the 16th century. The Ottoman Empire came under increasing strain from inflation and the rapidly rising costs of warfare that were impacting both Europe and the Middle East. 74. These pressures led to a series of crises around the year 1600, placing great strain upon the Ottoman system of government. 75. 413-414 The empire underwent a series of transformations of its political and military institutions in response to these challenges, enabling it to successfully adapt to the new conditions of the 17th century and remain powerful, both militarily and economically. 63, 76. 10 historians of the mid-20th century once characterized this period as one of stagnation and decline, but this view is now rejected by the majority of academics. 63. The discovery of new maritime trade routes by Western European states allowed them to avoid the Ottoman trade monopoly. The Portuguese discovery of the Cape of Good Hope in 1488 initiated a series of Ottoman-Portuguese naval wars in the Indian Ocean throughout the 16th century. Despite the growing European presence in the Indian Ocean, Ottoman trade with the East continued to flourish. Cairo, in particular, benefited from the rise of Yemeni coffee as a popular consumer commodity. As coffee houses appeared in cities and towns across the empire, Cairo developed into a major center for its trade, contributing to its continued prosperity throughout the 17th and much of the 18th century. 77, 507 508 Under Ivan IV, 1533-1584, the Tsardom of Russia expanded into the Volga and Caspian regions at the epoch of the Tatar Khanates. In 1571, the Crimean Khan Devlet Ijare, commanded by the Ottomans, burned Moscow. 78. The next year, the invasion was repeated but repelled at the Battle of Molody. The Ottoman Empire continued to invade Eastern Europe in a series of slave raids, 79, and remained a significant power in Eastern Europe until the end of the 17th century. 80. The Ottomans decided to conquer Venetian Cyprus, and on the 22nd of July, 1570, Nicosia was besieged. 50,000 Christians died, and 180,000 were enslaved. 81. 67 On the 15th of September, 1570, the Ottoman cavalry appeared before the last Venetian stronghold in Cyprus, Famagusta. The Venetian defenders held out for 11 months against a force that at its peak numbered 200,000 men with 145 cannons. 163,000 cannonballs struck the walls of Famagusta before it fell to the Ottomans in August 1571. The siege of Famagusta claimed 50,000 Ottoman casualties. 82. 328. Meanwhile, the Holy League, consisting of mostly Spanish and Venetian fleets, won a victory over the Ottoman fleet at the Battle of Lepanto, 1571, off southwestern Greece. Catholic forces killed over 30,000 Turks and destroyed 200 of their ships. 83. 24. It was a startling, if mostly symbolic, 84, blow to the image of Ottoman invincibility, an image which the victory of the Knights of Malta over the Ottoman invaders in the 1565 siege of Malta had recently set about eroding. 85. The battle. Order of battle of the two fleets in the Battle of Lepanto, with an allegory of three powers of the Holy League in the foreground. Fresco by Giorgio Vasari was far more damaging to the Ottoman navy in sapping experienced manpower than the loss of ships, which were rapidly placed. 86. 53. The Ottoman navy recovered quickly, persuading Venice to sign a peace treaty in 1573, allowing the Ottomans to expand and consolidate their position in North Africa. 87. By contrast, the Habsburg frontier had settled somewhat, a stalemate caused by a stiffening of the Habsburg defences. 88. The long Turkish war against Habsburg Austria, 1593-1606, created a need for greater numbers of Ottoman infantry equipped with fiery arms, resulting in a relaxation of recruitment policy. This contributed to problems of indiscipline and outright rebelliousness within the corps, which were never fully solved. 89. Irregular sharpshooters, Sekban, were also recruited, and on demobilization turned to brigandage in the Kelali rebellions, 1590-1610, which engendered widespread anarchy in Anatolia in the late 16th and early 17th centuries. 90. 24. With the empire's population reaching 30 million people by 1600, the shortage of land placed further pressure on the government. 91. In spite of these problems, the Ottoman state remained strong, and its army did not collapse or suffer crushing defeats. The only exceptions were campaigns against the Safavid dynasty of Persia, where many of the Ottoman eastern provinces were lost, some permanently. This 1603-1618 war eventually resulted in the Treaty of Najaf Pasha, which ceded the entire Caucasus, except westernmost Georgia, back into the possession of Safavid Iran. 92. The treaty ending the Cretan War cost Venice much of Dalmatia, its Aegean island possessions, and Crete. Losses from the war totaled 30,985 Venetian soldiers and 118,754 Turkish soldiers. 93. 33. During his brief majority reign, Murad IV, 1623-1640, reasserted central authority and recaptured Iraq, 1639, from the Safavids. 94. The resulting Treaty of Zuhab of that same year decisively divided the Caucasus and adjacent regions between the two neighboring empires as it had already been defined in the 1555 Peace of Amasia. 95. 96. The Sultanate of Women, 1533-1656, was a period in which the mothers of young sultans exercised power on behalf of their sons. The most prominent women of this period were Kosum Sultan and her daughter-in-law Tahan Hatis, whose political rivalry culminated in Kosum's murder in 1651. 97. During the Koprulura, 1656-1703, effective control of the empire was exercised by a sequence of grand viziers from the Koprulu family. The Koprulu Vizierate saw renewed military success with authority restored in Transalvinia. The conquest of Crete completed in 1669, and expansion into